Welcome to the Dice Tower Top 10 list. I'm Tom Vasel.
I'm Zee Garcia, what's up?
And I'm Sam Healey. What's down?
Oh, snap.
And once again, just like last time, we are live from Dice Tower Convention 2014. It feels like 2 weeks since we've been here last, but anyhow, today we're going to talk about something that a lot of people have asked us to do, and that is our top 10 fantasy games. We did top 10 sci-fi games, and then we had an argument over whether they were sci-fi or fantasy. I'm sure that may happen again today.
I'll make him count.
Okay, so, but what is fantasy? I'm just kidding.
Oh, it scared me. I thought I had to define it.
Go ahead.
No idea.
Go ahead.
If there's a goblin in it.
Wizards.
Dwarves, magic,
Stuff.
yeah. And I understand, we got a lot of flack last time, this is fantasy and science fiction. People, you can define something very widely, right. But I think fantasy is swords and magic and goblins and elves and all that. I mean, I think that's pretty obvious, and it's a big genre. It's a bloated genre, to be frank. There's a lot of fantasy games that are generic ripoffs of other ones. I get on trading in the Mediterranean games, and I'm going to continue forever. But there's also yet another generic fantasy game, too.
And then there's Felinia, which is trading in the Mediterranean with cats. And that's fantasy, right? Because it's on my list. It's just cats on the cover instead of people. That's it.
That was like one of the first games I played with Z. I was like, there's this Felinia game, and he's like, oh, it's about cats. No, but they're on the cover. Yeah.
The artist just had a bad day, and he was like, oh yeah,
they're collecting.
Game.
No, they're going across and collecting catnip. No, they're getting silk and gold, but there's cats in the cover. Yeah, don't buy it. It's not a very good game.
Worked on Broadway.
Dogs the musical.
Why can't it work in a board?
Okay, well, let's get started here. Our top 10 fantasy games, and here we go.
Number 10.
All right, my number 10. When I was thinking about this list, I would have not been happy with myself if I had not included this game. I don't play this game very often anymore, but I have played countless hours. Spent entire weekends playing this game, and that is Dungeons and Dragons. Has to be mentioned on this
Not
list.
a board game.
I don't care. It is a
science fiction.
game. Don't get me started, you cracker. Listen, you're kind of crackerish. You got a white head, but.
If you want that hair grab more, you get Mr. T thing going. Anyway, go ahead.
We don't want to talk
We're
about
way off topic. Go back.
Bozo the Clown, maybe. I lost my train of thought.
D&D.
D&D, yes. Don't care if it's a board game. It is a game. And we're talking about top 10 fantasy games, not board games, unless you actually type.
Okay, then my
board.
number 10 is Skyrim. I mean, come on.
Have you looked at the comments of top 10 essential games of all time and how many people were actually drawn there because they thought they were talking about?
Well, I know, but that's deliberate misdirection on my part.
Exactly, deliberate misdirection on my part. So I'm actually pandering to the crowd that's going to show up and eventually be disappointed by our videos.
Okay. Had you
Number 10, Dungeons and Dragons. If you don't agree with my list...
All right. Had we been doing video game stuff, I would have put Skyrim probably very high because it's good. So if you're watching for videos, Skyrim.
But we're not.
And I didn't put D&D. Oh, wow. You wasted time on your whole entry. Anyhow, I would have not put Dungeons & Dragons. I would put Pathfinder. My number 10 is...
That's just because they're here.
It's okay.
My number 10... No, it's not.
Yes,
okay.
it is.
Number 10 for me is Tales of Arabian Nights. That's probably not the first thing you think of when fantasy, but it definitely is fantasy with genies and magic and sex-changing springs and gender-changing springs. Anyhow, there's all sorts of magic that happens, and it's such a great fantasy story. When you tell it, you play it, it comes to life. I really enjoy it. Tales of Arabian Nights.
Fantasy?
I just Oh, I'm sorry, there's no orcs in it, but there's genies
Genies
and
and stuff.
enchantress.
Yeah, I
Come
mean,
on, magic.
It's definitely fantasy. It's just barely a game. I'm gonna read to you for a while.
Go, Z. What do you got for number 10?
I should have not said that right before this one. My number 10 is Kingsburg. You fight goblins and stuff, so get off my back.
Is that really your number 10?
Yes, Kingsburg. Okay, let me preface all of them by saying I have realized putting this list together how much I gravitate from fantasy.
Yeah, away from it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
away from it. Like, unbelievably so.
Yeah.
It never even dawned on me, but I started putting the list together and I'm going, this is all real world, sci-fi, real world. Unbelievable, like nothing. I mean, the whole list was 15, and I called from that. I have almost no fantasy games that I've either owned or have liked. But anyway, so yeah, my number 10 is Kingsburg. I think it's a great game, and while the fantasy theme is thin, I think the game makes up for it. It's a great game with a little bit of fantasy. And some games on my list later on will be games I don't like as much, but the fantasy is there in spades. So I kind of allowed the list to have a great game with a little bit of fantasy and games that have great fantasy, but I could understand other people liking them, and I'm not myself a big fan.
I just excluded Kingsbury because it was so thinly veiled.
It is thin,
But
yeah.
but it is a good game that has a fantasy theme to it, so I'll give you a green light.
You don't hate me?
No, I don't hate you.
You're wrong.
No,
look.
short-lived.
Evil Barney over here.
Now, no, I wrote my list not necessarily by my favorites to my least favorites, but by how strong I thought the fantasy theme came through. And you said you called yours from 15. I called mine from hundreds, probably. This wasn't really.
Bow before your eminence.
Oh, really? Was this list hard for you?
No,
Okay.
but I didn't have hundreds. I think that was a hyperbole, but
It's not.
I think it was.
All right, moving on.
Number 9.
All right, number 9 for me is a new game, probably the newest game on the list, and that's Battle Lore 2nd Edition. I liked Battle Lore 1st Edition. I was excited about it. It had magic in it, and then I got it out, and it was like, where's all the monsters? Where's all the goblins? There were some dwarves and there was some goblins, but it was like they even had historical scenarios in it.
Yeah.
It's very historical, and that's fine. It was a good game. But the new Battle Lore is fantasy, man. Monsters and a griffin and a giant, I don't know what it is, some mean Nurgle thing type, and with magic spells. I really like it. It's a cool battle back and forth, but it just has that magic flair. And I'm really looking forward to expansions for it to see what new fantasy armies. When you just look at the board, you see all these cool monsters fighting each other, which is something I really look for in games. And there's so few games that have an army of monsters fighting another army. Remember the old Age of Mythology?
Yeah.
Came with all these cool mythological creatures. You're like, yeah! And how does the game work? Well, I put a monster in my hand, you put one in your hand, we open them and see which one wins. Yeah, okay, that's fun. It wasn't very exciting. So anyway, my number 9, Battle Lore 2nd Edition.
Okay.
Cool. That's me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, my number 9. Again, go easy on me. My number 9 is Blue Moon, the card game. Or Blue Moon Legends, which just came out, same game.
Is there any differences now that you've played them?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
I mean, I think they tweaked some of the deck building balance mildly. So no difference. Again, it's high up on the list. If I'm going based solely on how much I like these games, this would be higher up on this list. It would be near the top. But the fantasy theme, while very pretty, the game is very gorgeous, and the artwork is great, and it's thin. It's numbers and some powers. So the fantasy doesn't really seep out of it. So that's why it's so, it's just 9. My number 9, Blue Moon. I love the game. It is clearly fantastical, but it doesn't quite give you that feeling of, slinging spells and mutating things and stuff.
I'm actually more kind to it than you are in that regard. I thought the fantasy came out a little bit, but I've discovered that I still don't like it. But I understand. I think it's more fantasy themed than you're giving it credit for.
Okay.
But it's a bad game. All right. Reiner Knizia.
Speaking of Mr. Knizia, my number 9, a
What?
game that I have talked about. Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
A
right?
Knizia?
Lord of the Rings.
Lord of the Rings.
Oh, yeah.
The co-op Way back in the day.
knowledge.
Way back in the day. This is a game that actually is very surprising for a Knizia game because it has a very, I think, a very immersive theme to it. The Lord of the Rings, I really do feel like you captured, that game captured the Hobbit.
I have it memorized.
Trail to Mordor. Yeah, there's a lot of mechanics in there that don't really make sense. But when I remember playing this game, it was as if I and Frodo were there. And we were walking through because I always like to play Sam because you know that's why. But I really felt that this encapsulated the Fellowship's journey through Mordor better than most. So my number 9 is Lord of the Rings co-op.
All right.
Go ahead.
Well, I'll talk about it later.
No, you-
Okay. Go ahead.
All right, my number 8 is a 2-player game, really big footprint. I really like it. I think both of these guys hate it, and that's Claustrophobia. Claustrophobia is the one probably from the whole list here that has the darkest fantasy theme. You know, it's about these, basically you're playing the bad guys too, descending into this hellish tunnel and slinging spells and killing monsters and troglodytes and crazy stuff and looking for something or trying to get out or whatever. Definitely has a rich fantasy flavor. Again, it's that dark fantasy, and I think it is awesome. This is my dungeon crawl game. I don't typically like dungeon crawl games. If I'm going to play one, this is the one I like. It's short, it's clever, it's got good mechanics on top of a good Amerithrash feel. I say thrash instead of trash.
Is that what you think? Amerithrash?
Cool like that. So I really love it. So my number 8, Claustrophobia. If you've not played it and you like that idea, check it out. It's underappreciated, I think.
This is the moment that we'll start using that term.
Amerithrash.
Amerithrash.
I want credit.
And I think that's it, right?
No, it's you.
Number 8?
Yeah,
Oh, I was the last one.
you were.
Oh, well, pleasant. All right, my number 8. My number 8 is another Lord of the Rings game that encapsulates the entire play of the Lord of the Rings drama, and that is War of the Ring. This is a 2-player game that, if you must, can be played with 4, but it's really meant for just 2, and it has every aspect of the Lord of the Rings saga in it, and it is a wonderful game. It is a game that I don't get to play very often because I don't own it, and the person that does own it, who is sitting at this table, usually doesn't want to play it.
Look at me. That thing's like 4 hours.
Yeah. So, but War of the Ring is a great game, and it is a great fantasy-themed game. If you love Tolkien, you will love War of the Rings. I think. Maybe it might be a little bit too heavy for some of you, but War of the Ring is definitely deserving of this position on the list. My number 8.
Stab at me?
I think so. My number 8. Speaking of Tolkien, I like Tolkien. So my number 8 from Reiner Knizia, Lord of the Rings. Okay, I'm lying. That's not even fantasy themed at all. War of the Ring.
It's not fantasy themed.
War of the Ring. No, okay, it is.
Okay,
Here's the deal. I thought
Go, baby. Go.
I was waiting. I thought Lord of the Rings by Knizia. I was like, oh yeah, that's Lord of the Rings. That's a pretty cool. It's a really cool theme. Then I played other games. And including War of the Ring, and including Lord of the Rings Confrontation.
Okay, don't even say Confrontation is a better game.
All those games have better theming, than Lord of the Rings. It's like, ooh, let's flip a tile. Oh no, it's Legolas. He showed up. He's a tile.
If he says Confrontation, I might just win.
Even the bridge. No, not the bridge game. The duel.
Yeah, no. I will lose it.
In case we're all confused at this point, number 8 for me is War of the Ring, because to me that really does encapsulate all of the Lord of the Rings. I mean, it's all there. It's one giant game. It's very thematic. And I was looking for theme in these games, a strong theme, not just one that Randa Knizia pulled out of the cabinet and threw on top of the game.
I'm not going to hurt you. What's wrong?
I was so nervous.
So you need to have your theme spoon-fed to you. You have no imagination. Is that what?
Oh, no, that's not a boom. That's not a boom, because then chess is a fantasy game. Oh, here goes my
You know, that thought actually entered my mind. That thought actually entered my mind.
No, look, you can't-
Technically, chess is fantasy themed.
Oh, so why watch movies ever? Because I can read a
magic
book.
in that.
Why even read a book? I'll just imagine it.
You could just read a book. Matter of fact,
Wait. Where's the
according to
fantasy
him,
in
that's
chess?
quality time with your significant
Where's the
other,
fantasy in
reading a
chess?
book. Huh?
It's medieval themed, but it's not fantasy themed.
Come on, man. How much? Okay, there's no orcs or anything like
Who's
that.
got magic? Which of the pieces is magical?
The queen? She can do everything.
Queens can do
That's
that.
magical.
Oh, queens move in straight lines all the time, right?
Okay, we're getting way off
Am I wrong, or
subject
am I
here.
the other one?
But I don't think that's a fair argument to say, well, use your imagination, because you can use.
but you
Of course, you
can.
can always use your imagination.
But
I want some help.
Come on. So what other theme then? Help me. What other theme fits on the Lord of the Rings co-op game? What other theme fits?
Well, I'm not.
The Hobbit? Sorry.
No, but I mean, it could be any game where
answer
you
the question,
have to do
please.
an adventure thing and flip things over. It almost doesn't feel like there is a theme in a sense. You're just flipping tiles and see what happens. The art's great. It looks good, and the theme
That's all
fits.
part of the theme.
It's just not a top 10.
It immerses you into the game.
All right, well, let's
Not
move
top 10
on.
for you.
All right.
Because you're an idiot.
Number
All right, you guys can
7.
hate on me for a little bit now. Yes. All right, number 7 for me is one I wavered on putting on the list because I wasn't sure, but
Chess.
I'm about to find out.
Chess.
Checkers. Leaping over other pieces, clearly magical. My number 7 is King of Tokyo. King of Tokyo monsters that are kind of fantastic.
This is all you.
And there's like weird creatures and stuff. And I wavered between like sci-fi and fantasy, but I think it's fantastical enough. Like the stuff that's represented within the game is sort of unbelievable and fantastical enough that I thought this fits a fantasy list.
Like the F-16s?
Because there's fantasy doesn't mean there can be like real world representations or something. I mean, there's like swords; those are real in fantasy.
Sorry, man.
I can't. No. Don't do the boom thing. No, because it doesn't work here. You gave me flack. This man gave me flack for including King of Tokyo
Never.
It was mostly
on
you.
a sci-fi list.
Because it's
That is
fantasy, baby.
clearly not fantasy. It is so many science fiction elements to that game.
Name 16.
Name 16? Would you like me to? Can I go get my copy? Okay, then don't ask me that question. Anyway, man, this is not fantasy. Not even close.
Can I-
to
Massive
fantasy.
audience right here. Let's find out.
Can I say it's neither? It's in its own genre, the monster genre?
No, because that's
The monster genre
Austrian
is
answer.
fantasy. I psyched myself out at the end. Is it fantasy?
All right. We'll
Okay,
do raise
sci-fi,
hand.
raise your hand. Come on, sci-fi, raise your hand.
Godzilla is in the sci-fi section.
Sci-fi, absolutely.
All right. Fantasy, raise your hand.
Fantasy.
You lose. Drop them. I'm just kidding.
It's Richard Garfield. That's magic.
Solid argument, baby, all the way around.
Tell me later how that works with Robo Rally. But all right.
Fine.
No one agreed with me about it being neither in its own genre.
No.
Eric, that's all that matters. Not all. Okay. My number 7, very strong fantasy theme by Richard Launius, who's here from Eagle Games, and that's Defenders of the Realm. When people first talked about Defenders of the Realm, like, oh, it's pandemic with a fantasy theme, but it's so much more than that. Your character has special abilities that really make it different. You have multiple things you can do. Your barbarian has rages and runs around. These giant guys are running towards your, or dragons if you use the expansion, are marching towards your thing. I really felt inspired to defend the kingdom, you know, in this game. Very entertaining. So that's all I gotta say. Defenders of the Realm.
My number 7, Ditto.
We just matched twice in a row.
Yes, we did.
You guys are
Defenders of the Realm, and for all the reasons, I mean, it really, it's the classical evil versus good, keeping the advancing skeleton hordes and orc hordes and whatever those other guys were, hordes, and keeping all those at bay so that the kingdom can prosper. And that definitely made the list. Didn't even have to think about it.
You must hate fantasy, and because you said so yourself. Because if you like no, but you like Pandemic like it's going out of style. Like you want to marry the game. This is so similar to Pandemic in many ways. I can't see how you cannot like it.
It was more random and too long.
It's like an hour and a half.
That's his excuse for most.
Yeah, but I can play Pandemic in like 40 minutes,
That's too long.
and it's equally good.
And there's dice.
short.
All right, moving on.
Number 6.
My number 6 is Thunderstone, or specifically Epic Thunderstone. In fact, only Epic Thunderstone. I like Thunderstone itself. It's an okay game, but it's just, to me, at that point, it's a deck-building game. And there's some fantasy elements. Epic Thunderstone, though, I feel like we're gearing up, getting stuff. If you've not played Epic Thunderstone, it's in the new Thunderstone Advance, a variant where you use everything. And you have all these decks, and so you're going in, everyone has different cards. I'm going to say this, and I'm sure people might disagree with me. I think Epic Thunderstone, for me, has replaced the Pathfinder Adventure card game at this point. I like Pathfinder. It's a good game, but it's extremely random in many points throughout it. And in Thunderstone, I felt like I was actually going and finding equipment, not randomly, oh, look, there's a +2 sword in that field over there. You know, I felt like they're both good games, but I think Epic Thunderstone, for me, just especially with the cards that Advance keeps coming out with, even Numenera, which had a bit of a sci-fi flair, still had some cool fantasy things to it.
That's the one I like.
That's the one you like.
I wonder why.
We know now. But every time I play it, I just get a real big kick out of it and feel like we lived an adventure. So Epic Thunderstone, Advance.
Okay. My number 6, is that what we're on?
Is it Thunderstone? 3 in a row would be cool.
No, it's not Thunderstone. It is
Look at that, it's like a novel.
another one. Yeah, I actually put thought into my list.
I hate both of you guys.
Already been mentioned by Tom, and definitely on this list, solidly Descent 2.0. Even I think Descent 1 could be on this list. And since you said it earlier, I think Battlelore First Edition could also be on this list because it really had a lot of groundbreaking things in it as well. So again, I can concur with your Battlelore 2.0, but Descent 2.0 definitely makes this list. This is the dungeon crawl that all other dungeon crawls look up to for hope, because everybody else, every other dungeon crawl out there just pales in comparison to Descent 2.0. It's got everything that you could possibly ever want from a dungeon crawl. Makes claustrophobia look like some kid made it with crayons.
Yep.
It is just so much better than all of the other dungeon crawls out there.
You're getting a lot of hate today.
I know.
I'm just trying to say.
My list from now on is going to be all Mediterranean games. Okay, my number 6, Concordia. Concordia, get after that. Okay, no, my number 6 is a game that, while I'm not as enamored with it anymore as I once very much enjoyed it, and now I don't really like it that much anymore, but
It's on his list.
Well, the theme is very fantasy heavy, and again, it's not that I hate the game. Well, it's Heroescape. I don't want to set it up. Okay, that's why I don't play. I don't want to set it up. You set it up. I'll play with you. Heroescape. Again, it's a mishmash of themes, but a large portion of those are clearly fantasy derived. So, and it gives you a great feel of, the dragon fighting this other crazy monster, fighting sci-fi elements, yes, and fighting real-world elements, but it's clearly how they were brought together is clearly fantastic. I think it's a strong game, and a ton of people love it. I know you love it, and it's going to be higher up on your list. But my number 6, Hero Skate.
Don't look at my list.
I'm not. Well, when Sam threw it away, I kind of...
You saw it.
As it flew through the air. All right.
Number 5.
All right, this is definitely, my number 5 is definitely on the lighter side, thinly veiled theming of
D&D Yahtzee.
this list, but I think it is a good enough game with enough theme to hold the number 5 spot on my list, and that is Small World. It has such a seamlessly smushed together conglomeration of all the different aspects of the fantasy world. I mean, there's all of the different powers, all of the different races that can be interchanged and used, and multiple. Have we ever decided or found out on the math how many different combinations there are?
No.
There's
a lot.
There's a
I'm
whole
not
lot.
going to do it. I
especially-
can't even count some dice.
especially when you go into all the expansions that they already have out for it, and then Underground and all of this. It definitely captures this genre very well in a light, fun, easy to learn, easy to teach game. And so number 5, definitely Small World.
Yeah, I like it. I just didn't. I thought the theme wasn't as strong as some of the others on my list.
All right, my number 5 should probably be on the list. Anyway, I like it, and so it is on the list because I do enjoy it and like it, but it should be on the list. Magic the Gathering. Magic the Gathering has gone through, tons of expansions, and some of them kind of push that boundary. Now I think they're into one that's very mythological.
Which is fantasy.
No, it's not. Not really.
How's it not fantasy?
Well, okay, that's a different discussion. And they've pushed some into sci-fi areas with robots and stuff. But anyway, it's in the name, magic. So I had to put it on the list. I enjoyed it a lot. I don't do tournaments or anything because I don't like people that play magic.
Doesn't like it.
Play Magic.
But I do like it a lot, and I think I've said this before, but the way I play now, the way I enjoy it is just get the dual decks, play that.
Yeah, they're
They
fun.
come balanced. They're not wimpy decks. They're like powered up decks, but just break it out and play. Boom, have fun.
Yeah.
So that's my number 5, Magic the Gathering. Richard Garfield again. Oh, man.
Okay. No, I think that was like in my top 15. I thought about it. Although mythological is magic. Come on now. A centaur? Was that mythological? Is it in fantasy?
Don't bite. Don't bite.
I can't.
Just
Go on.
Okay.
Let him simmer.
My number 5 is a game that I like quite a bit, and that's Summoner Wars. Summoner Wars has magic users, summoner versus summoner, bringing out magic armies, goblins and dwarves and things, and they fight each other. That's it. Great game. That's all I have to say.
I'm just surprised it's not higher up on your list.
Well, wait till you hear the next 4.
Is there a 2.0 Summoner Wars? Oh, okay.
Okay. Anyway, my number 4 or 5, Summoner Wars.
Number 4.
Okay, my number 4, Summoner Wars. My number 4, Summoner Wars. Again, still on the lighter side of the genre for me, but I think it's one of the best tactical card games with groups, units, and positioning for attack, that type of thing. I think it's really the best option out there for you. As far as tactics is concerned. Now, if you want to get into strategies when you're building spell books and all of that kind of stuff, there's another game out there called Mage Wars that might be better for you. But for me, this is definitely the tactical card game of choice for the fantasy genre, and that's Summoner Wars, my number 4.
So you like Summoner Wars more than Mage Wars?
Yes.
I thought you liked Mage Wars more.
No. Matter of
he
fact,
does. It's gonna be on his
it was
list,
on,
but
it was on my
Don't
choice.
even. Don't
My
even.
number 4 is Mage Wars. Thanks.
You're welcome. Yeah. No, I mean, Mage Wars is great. I do enjoy it very much, but the reason I decided to not include it on my list is I thought it would be rather
Hypocritical?
Is that how you would pronounce that?
Hypocritical,
Yeah. Okay.
Eric Summers, right
I would
there.
be a hypocrite. Thank
Thanks.
you. Got thumbs up. It would be rather hypocritical for me to include it on the top 10 fantasy games list when it was just on my turkeys list.
It could be a fantasy turkey.
Yeah, but it's
Fairy dust.
no. I enjoy Mage Wars. It's just I'm not all into.
Can I at least talk the good
strategy.
I like about it?
Shut up.
You're just here for show. It's okay.
Figurehead. It's all the strategy that I'm the building spell books and all that. I'm not really into that.
Okay. I like to build spell books. I just think the fantasy, to me, this is the game that really knocks Magic out of the list to some degree. Well, that and Hearthstone. This is just, I like the whole maneuvering around, and I think Summoner Wars and Mage Wars, they hover which one I like better. Sometimes it's one, sometimes it's the other. But when it comes to the fantasy theme, I think Mage Wars wins out very strongly. Casting spells, throwing fireballs, lightning bolts, all that jazz.
All of which you do in Summoner Wars as well.
Well, you do, but I feel it much more strongly. And you don't actually cast as many spells in Summoner Wars. It's mostly creatures. There's a few event cards, but they don't feel the same as, I just shot a fireball that exploded in different directions.
They're just not called that.
I understand it. That's why I'm saying.
Special ability.
I'm saying the theme is stronger. That's all. Yeah. So anyhow, that's my number 4, Mage Wars.
Okay, my number 4 is a drafting fantasy game called Lost Legends, which doesn't get a lot of attention, but I think it's a very cool game. I just played it recently again, actually, and enjoyed it quite a bit, in which you are drafting equipment, drafting spells, magical items, rings, stuff like that, and then you go into a dungeon for the second phase and kick the snot out of a bunch of crazy, wild stuff that's going to try to kick you back, and it typically does. Hard in the mouth. And then you do it again 3 times, I think. And but it's great. It's great. I love the artwork. I like the rhythm of the game. Feels good, and the theme comes through well. I like equipping my guy and feeling like a bad dude and going in there and running out scared. So that's my number 4, Lost Legends.
Your list is starting to come along. You're starting to get there.
Number 3.
All right, my number 3 is similar to what you said earlier when you talked about HeroClix, and it's Duel of Ages. And now I know that Duel of Ages, you might think it's sci-fi. No. I'm actually very.
If we include HeroScape, we
Right, it's the same thing, right?
Well, there's more fantasy elements in HeroScape than there is in Duel of Ages, but there still is a lot in the Duel of Ages, and I believe Duel of Ages 2, by the way. Is the whole thing is fantasy. The fact that this person's fighting this person is fighting this thing. It's just this big giant fantasy, and I love it. I love that whole idea. I love the idea of a robot going up against a dragon, or Genghis Khan going and fighting the fairy princess with the little bursting of magic pixie dust that you did.
Pixie turkey.
The pixie turkey. So anyhow, that's my number 3, Duel of Ages 2.
My number 3 is a game that's been mentioned already by Sam, who said it was very, very light. I think it's medium, probably. Medium weight. That's Small World. Small World,
It's light.
It's definitely light.
No. For sale is light.
That's so light and floaty.
Okay? Forget it. But definitely fantasy.
Yeah.
Lots of fantasy all over the board.
Right.
And I think it's a great game. I think it takes that whole risk-like, killing the other dudes, controlling pieces of the map idea, makes it simple, but gives it a lot of flavor, lots of cool, fantastical powers, and you get to combine the race with some sort of bonus, and it just works. It just works really well. It's streamlined, great game. So my number 3, Small World, had to be on the list for me.
Cool.
All right.
All right, so we're on 3s, right?
We're on 3s.
We're on 3.
The power of 3.
Okay, 3. My number 3 is one that's already been mentioned by Tom, and that is Battle Lore 2nd Edition.
That's all up to number 3 for you.
Yeah.
Wow.
I almost pulled the trigger yesterday to buy my own copy. He's got a copy at home, but I just couldn't swing it. But Battle Lore 2.0, I really, really seriously enjoy this game. I enjoy Memoir 44, and it's the same system.
That's true.
So it really, really meshes well. If I want a 2-player fantasy-themed game, this is the one that I want to pull out if I can. So Battlelore 2.0, everything that Tom already said, 2 thumbs up. Number 3, Battlelore 2.0.
All right.
Number 2.
Okay, my number 2, I'll make this nice and quick. Summoner Wars. Who said it already?
Well, we both did. It's a 3-way thing. Welcome to the family.
I'm one of the guys on the top 10 list. It's a game with... I don't know. I'm not going to keep hammering it home. Summoner Wars. I really like Summoner Wars. And Battlelore, by the way, would have been like my 11 or 12. Yeah. But I am still talking about 1.0. Is that, are we calling it 1.0? Because I haven't played the new one. But yeah, it was on the short list. Cool. But Summoner Wars number 2, awesome game. Love that head-to-head Magic feel. Spatial, tricky, and again, it's what Tom said about it feeling, what you both said, it feeling more like units that are magical versus like casting magic. Yeah. But it works for me. Yeah. So that's my number 2.
Cool.
Summoner Wars.
My turn.
Yeah, there's minotaurs in it, by the way.
Really?
Mythological.
Wow. There's also like guys who will have like technologic things.
Vendors.
Okay.
Actually,
Deal.
vendors are...
No, they're magic. Whatever.
Deal with it.
Anyway, my number 2 is a game that has already been mentioned, and kind of knew there was going to be a lot of overlay on this list. But Thunderstone is the deck building that beats all of the deck building games as far as I'm concerned. Makes Dominion look like a pile of...
Cardboard. Say cardboard.
Insert.
No, don't insert your descriptive.
Thunderstone is just so much better.
Dominion is fantasy.
I know it's not. It has fantasy pictures on
There's
it.
a
It's
witch.
not a fantasy game.
There's a Minotaur.
Thunderstone, in my opinion, takes the deck building mechanic and gives it meaning and purpose. It just makes sense now. Instead of buying all of these things to just mess up my opponents, now I'm gathering villagers, I'm gathering swords and armor and other adventurers to come help me as I go into the woods, the dark woods, or the dungeon to beat up on and hopefully kill the menacing evil thing that's in there. And that just makes this whole deck building mechanic work and shine. So for fantasy deck building, Thunderstone is where it's at. No other place.
All right.
And finally, number 1.
We need dice again.
He's right there.
He doesn't want us to use it now. We misused
Act like
him.
he's not there.
I mean, how many this time?
Let's just roll 2.
He doesn't want to count.
Yeah. Can you handle this? All right, we go for number 1. We're rolling little dice today because I forgot the big dice. All right. Double 6s. Here we go. Go. Whoa, 9. Oh!
I got doubles. That means I get to roll again.
Double 6s for Zee.
I got doubles again. That's 10.
And that equals
10, 16.
12, baby.
Oh,
16.
he said
I'm not that bad.
he said we could roll again if you get doubles.
I got 16 altogether. I got to re-roll twice.
Oh.
He's already at 12, you know.
Plus.
That's 14, so roll again.
Roll again.
Okay.
I got double 4.
The game had never
Jail.
I'm in jail, right?
Yes.
Oh man,
Why'd you
all
have
my
to
money
bring
on
that
free
game
parking.
up?
All right, that's
That's
fantasy.
fantasy. You don't get out of jail like that. No. I'm gonna get cut when I leave here.
Who's first?
I don't know who was first.
You picked. You won.
Oh, I win. Okay, sure.
You stay close.
I'll go first because mine's probably crummier than yours. Deal. And this, I don't know. You guys might give me flack for this.
Well, tell us the game.
Dixit. That's not it. but I might still get flack. My number one is Ghost Stories. And as far as I can tell, from looking at the pictures and such, that's fantasy. I ain't never seen no lady, you know what I'm saying? And go, ooh, I've never seen that. That is fantastical. It's a fantasy game. Yes?
He's not letting us
A
respond.
fantasy game?
Horror.
Yeah.
Horror. Fantasy. Anyway, Ghost Stories, if it's fantasy, would be my number one on the list, as it is, and I love it. And it is co-op and awesome, and you're like a ninja fighting ghosts. That sounds so stupid, right? All right, that's it. My number one, Ghost Stories. Is it? Seriously, what do you think? Is it fantasy?
I just put horror in its own genre.
Yeah.
I really feel like horror has its own genre.
I think other people.
Yeah, but horror is like, okay, like a guy killing with a knife is horror.
Have you looked
Like
at the pictures on those cards?
A ghost coming
The
back.
guy's eyes
and, like,
have mouths
those are
in them.
Clearly, like different kinds of horrors, right? I mean,
Have you seen Paranormal Activity? Any of them?
yeah,
That's ghosts
yeah.
only. Would you call that fantasy?
I don't know. I'm scared of those movies.
I haven't seen any
I
of them
haven't
either.
seen it.
But
Because we're afraid of them.
Well, there's magic in the game. Like that Wu Feng guy has like magical powers. Back me up.
I don't know. I don't.
I didn't say anything. He's saying it.
But I can't reach the computer.
And you're not.
All right. My number one was already mentioned by Sam, but to me it was obvious first choice, and that's Descent, second edition. And the thing I love about Descent is it gets better every month.
Yeah.
Every month they're adding something new, some new.
Every month?
Yeah, they're adding new lieutenant packs, they're adding these new monster packs, and it just keeps coming to the point where when we play Descent now, they never know what I'm going to bring out. There's going to be all these cool monsters. It's like D&D in a box. Just the dungeon, kick the door down, and
Right.
I would agree that a role-playing game provides a well-rounded experience with, not just going through a dungeon, but if you want to go through just a dungeon, and many people do, then Descent beats out any role-playing game in that regard. It's so easy, it's so defined, and it's visually cool with all the monsters. And the second edition does a good job at making it a good fair fight between the Overlord and the players. It's not just kill all the monsters, there's different quests and stuff. And if I got rid of all my games and just had Descent, I'd be able to play for a couple solid years and never do the same thing twice.
Okay.
That's cool. All right, my number one. I do want to mention this caveat because my number one right now is probably a more of a hot one than an actual solid one, and will remain one for all time. I think it's more of a hot one right now. Now the caveat is, I think any of my top five could be number one on this list at any given week.
I never did my number two.
Because I really enjoy my number fives.
I never did my number two. It's Hero Clicks. Okay, continue.
Hero clicks?
For all the same reason he said, and I like setting it up, so I don't have a problem. I actually
Hero clicks.
Hero Scale! Give me the pen!
So which one is it? Hero Scape or Hero Clicks?
Hero Scape. Hero Scape.
All right, yeah. So we kind of knew that was
I like setting it up, and blah, blah, blah. Go ahead.
like setting it up.
I do. It's like Legos. It is. Do you like putting Legos together?
Not anymore.
Oh, well, boo.
I'm just saying.
Not anymore. You're a grown man.
I don't like putting Legos together anymore. I just don't.
What are you, 5?
You said it. I was.
All right, I'm sorry. Go back to what you were saying.
All right, my number one, and any of my top five could be the number one spot in any given week. So my number one rocketed to the top of this list because I just played a game of it, and everything that I like about this game just flooded back into my mind. Shadows over Camelot is really right now, my favorite fantasy theme, simply because. Just shut up, guys. I can't believe it. How is that not fantasy? Please, okay, I'll stop. Please tell me, why is it not fantasy?
What's fantastical in that?
It's from the Arthurian legends, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's pretty close to a mythological theme, right?
Yeah.
What were you just saying about mythology?
That it wasn't fantasy.
That was me.
Okay, well then fine, shut up. It's 2 against 1. We got you, man.
Well, no,
You
wait.
want purple creature over here, please? I can take you.
No, wait. I think it's kind of fantasy. It's more legendary. It's like Robin Hood. There's a little bit of magic in the background, but it's more.
A little bit in the background, there on the left. That's growing on that rock.
Anyway, no, I'm cool with it being on your list. I'm just surprised it's number 1. That's all.
So, okay, so you're saying that dragons
Yeah, right. There's dragons.
existed?
There's dragons. Okay, I'm
there's
back
a
there.
dragon,
I'm
you
still
gotta
surprised
pass.
it's number 1. Though.
And
Are there any dragons in King of
you're
Tokyo?
saying that,
I said all right.
that you can just walk over to the lake over there and pull a sword out of
He's
it.
telling you.
I think we just heard that there might be a dragon in King of Tokyo.
Yeah, along with it's a cybernetic dragon. It is a machine. It is not a real dragon.
Made by magic. Go on.
My number 1, really any of my top 5 could be number 1 at any given time. So, but my number 1 right now for fantasy themed games is Shadows over Camelot.
And we just played this, actually.
Yes, we did. And I nailed the traitor again.
Was he the traitor?
No, it wasn't me. I nailed the traitor.
No, you
And then,
didn't.
yes, I did. I pegged her right away, and I told
No,
Sam.
no.
When I accused her, he goes, "You accuse her, I'm gonna punch you
No,
in the
you
throat."
asked me. No,
Sam,
you
know
asked
it's
me.
her.
You asked me. You said, "Who do you think?" And I said, And you were like, "Yeah, me too." And so man, don't even.
And then he said, "No." He accuses her, and turns to me and
take my glory, all right?
he accuses her, and then turns to me and goes, "I almost accused you."
Yeah, because you're always the traitor, and you're really good at it.
No, listen.
Look like this.
Listen. Here's the deal. I have to agree with him here because you lie so much.
You're easy to lie to, Tom.
Translation: you're gullible.
That's why you're both on the show.
I'm not sure I get that joke.
All right.
Was that a?
Can we close? All right. So, anyway, those are our top 10 fantasy. I'm sure there'll be a really long thread as to why some of these aren't fantasy.
It
And
was too long.
sorry. And how could we have forgotten such and such a game?
Yes.
And such. But anyhow, until next time, I'm Tom Vasel.
I'm Zee Garcia. I'm gonna go sleep.
And I'm Sam Healey.
And you've been watching the Dice Tower live at the convention 2014.
Yeah!